Welcome back to The Great Expanse by John Bat 426 here on YouTube. So glad you guys could join me. It's been rainy here in Philly the last few days and a little overcast, but the sun is just beyond those clouds. Always think about it like that. There are rain clouds presently, but just beyond those rain clouds is the sun. There we go. That was my public service announcement for the week. Okay, anyway, back to the news. Comic book related stuff. Now, I haven't been able to do as much Dark Horse or Image or Valiant news that I would like. So, I'm going to do some Dark Horse news. It's going to be brief. It's not because I'm begrudgingly doing it, but it's just, this is all that's available. Usagi Yojimbo returns to Dark Horse under new Dogu imprint. This is not a joke. This is for real. Dark Horse partners with Stan Sakai and team. Dark Horse Comics announced that it has partnered with Stan. I'm not even going to read all of it because a lot of you probably don't even know who Usagi Yojimbo is. All I know is that there was a character named Usagi Yojimbo on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the 80s when I was a kid, and it meant Samurai Rabbit, according to Master Splinter. So don't call me a liar. Say it to Splinter's whiskers. So I will say that there's one line that stands out in the article because I don't read the series, but this is what's new. Okay, getting Usagi back under the Dark Horse umbrella is a major win for the publisher. Okay, especially after the success of Netflix's Samurai Rabbit. See, Netflix drops 2 comic-based series. The second season drops September 1st. So, is Samurai Rabbit based on Usagi Yojimbo, but they just weren't allowed to use the name because they didn't have the rights, the publishing rights? It's something to think about. And if Samurai Rabbit is a great series, hopefully that'll just attract more attention and more traffic to Dark Horse Comics. And Dark Horse has done well with the Umbrella Academy. And apparently, if this Samurai Rabbit just got a season 2, which will drop September 1st, which was just 6 days ago. I had to look at the date and find out what today's date is. Maybe Dark Horse has something in the works. Alright, so that was Dark Horse Comics news. Now, on to something that is more commercial, something more popular. And I'm not going to assume that anybody already knew this, but XMen, the animated series, is returning. You remember from the 90s? Previously on XMen. That series, it's coming back. The whole new name. Okay, so it's basically following the X-Men. Now, whether or not they'll be under the leadership of Magneto, because if you know, the final episode of X-Men the Animated Series was called Graduation or Graduation Day. Thank you for clarifying. And Professor X is mortally wounded, and he is saved only by Shi'ar technology. He leaves in a Shi'ar ship. He sends a mental message, which gets me even talking about it. But he says, but my spirit will always be with you as it was always meant to be. And the roster of the X-Men are standing outside of Charles Xavier's mansion in Westchester, New York, with Magneto. And they're watching the ship fly off, and they're all just looking, and that's how X-Men animated series ends. Very emotional, very touching. So this is called X-Men 97. This picks up where that left off. So whether or not Magneto assumed the role of mentor, like he did in the Age of Apocalypse, because remember in the Age of Apocalypse storyline, Charles Xavier gets killed, and Magneto becomes the founder of the X-Men in honor of Charles Xavier. So X-Men 97, let's see, this is the headline. This is not new news, but like I said, I don't want to assume that everybody knows these things, okay? X-Men 97 is making one major change to the classic animated series team. Animated series team, okay? This website is Den of Geek. Joe George is to whom the article should be credited, okay? The classic animated series from the 90s returns with a lineup sure to please fans of the comics from the 80s. Thank you. John Byrne, Chris Claremont, That is my era of X-Men. I'm not saying there aren't any other good ones, but that is my era. Yes. At first glance, X-Men 97 seems like something that only 90s kids will understand. The upcoming Disney Plus show continues the classic cartoon series X-Men, which originally aired on Fox from 1992 to 1997. Classic series. But despite featuring costumes and a lineup that debuted in the pages of early 90s X-Men comics, the series owes its greatest debt to the comics Chris Claremont and Louise Simonson wrote in the 70s and 80s. Over 5 seasons, the X-Men animated series adapted some of the most beloved stories of those decades, including the 2 major ones, Days of Future Past and the Dark Phoenix saga. Yet, as much as the animators covered great tales from those eras, they left out some great stories involving team founder Professor Charles Xavier's departure from the team, after which he appoints former archenemy Magneto as team leader and headmaster of the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. But a first look at the return of X-Men 97 suggests that the cartoon is finally ready to adapt some of those classic tales too. Yes, I need more X-Men in my life, okay? I'm tired of all this Avengers stuff. My team is the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. In my comic shelf, mostly X-Men and Fantastic Four. The Avengers are like third. Because the Avengers are basically just an amalgamation of popular individual heroes. You understand what I'm saying? But the X-Men and the Fantastic Four are tried and true organic teams. Those are my teams. During the Marvel Animation panel at SDCC, San Diego Comic-Con, series writer Bo DeMaio revealed the main team for X-Men 97. On board were 7 of the expected team members, including Gambit, Wolverine, Jubilee, Chili Fries conspicuously absent. Maybe that's a line from the series. I don't know. Why is Cyclops 4th? Anyway, Cyclops, Storm, hair shorter, but not mohawk short. Jean Grey and Beast. Missing from these images was Professor X, of course. But I just explained that from graduation day. But present is Magneto, now the leader of the team. So yes, Magneto has been established as the leader of the X-Men, as Professor Xavier has gone off to the Shi'ar homeworld to live out the rest of his existence with Lilandra. Even better, Magneto is shown not in the helmeted costume he wore in the original series, but instead in magenta duds, complete with a sleeveless tunic and long purple gloves. I remember that outfit. It had a big M on it. And the Avengers vs. X-Men from like the 80s or whatever. I think it was called The Trial of Magneto, and he used like this kind of like a psychic device to have the verdict turned in his favor. And at the end, all the hostility and hatred with that verdict, he questions whether or not he should have even used the device. I don't remember specifically what the verdict was. Okay. Right here is a tweet of the images of X-Men 97, and I will be posting them. Okay. We see Cable, we see Morph, Bishop, Forge, Nightcrawler. I need more Nightcrawler in my life. I think that's Sunspot. In the next panel, some of the originals: Rogue, Gambit, Wolverine, Jubilee, Cyclops, Storm, Jean Grey, Beast. Bottom panel, I see Sebastian Shaw, I see Mr. Sinister, I see Emma Frost, I see Callisto, and I don't know who this other woman is. And in the final image is Magneto in that outfit I talked about in X-Men vs. Avengers, okay? Longtime readers of X-Men comics will best remember that look from the cover of Uncanny X-Men number 200, 1985. A pivotal point in Magneto's development, the issue sees the one-time villain tried for his super crimes, I just mentioned it, be exonerated thanks to super law. He had been reverted to infant state years ago, and thus has a blank slate in the eyes of Marvel Universe courts, and committed to working for peace between humans and mutants. The story kicked off several years of great arcs for the character, as the X-Men struggled to work with the man they once treated as an enemy. The X-Men 97 reveal comes just as the characters are poised to enter the MCU. A bit of a step down. Because I don't know if the MCU will treat the X-Men with the same care that Fox did. And Fox's treatment of the X-Men is iffy at best. Alright. Just this year, Patrick Stewart appeared again as Professor X in Doctor Strange and the blah 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 blah, with a look more from the animated Xavier than from his outfits in the 2000 movies. And Miss Mob, that was a spoiler. Ever since Disney purchased 20th Century Fox in 2019, fans have been waiting to see the beloved mutants make their MCU debut. These hints suggest that the time may be drawing near. With this new team lineup, X-Men 97 promises not to be a mere retread of the cartoon series from decades ago. Rather, it is committed to continue adapting some of the best superhero stories of all time, bringing the merry mutant soap opera to a new audience. X-Men 97 will hit Disney Plus in fall 2023 with a second season already in development. Yes, next year, X-Men animation returns. It's going to be on Disney Plus, not Fox. So hopefully it's not heavy-handed with a lot of political mumbo-jumbo. But there was a line in here that I wanted to expound on. And since there's The Great Expanse by John Bat 426, I like to expand your mind. I like to expound on things. Patting myself on that. Talking about Magneto being reverted to infancy. That is from, I'm going to spitball here, Defenders number 16. I'm not sure the title. But it's from an old, I used to have it, an old Defenders comic. This was Incredible Hulk, The Incredible Hulk, Doctor Strange, Valkyrie, and I don't remember the other participants. Shame on me. But they were fighting the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, led, of course, by Magneto, Mastermind, the Blob, I think the Toad was with them, and Magneto was developing a super mutant called Alpha. And Alpha is almost like the way they treated Amazo. You know, in Justice League Unlimited, Tabula Rasa, where Lex Luthor sees this godlike creature in Amazo and tries to manipulate him into destroying the Justice League. Well, Magneto is raising Alpha to basically carry out Magneto's will and dominate humanity. So Alpha basically develops and evolves, his head swells, he becomes like this super like omnipotent like being, and he basically uses all of his evolved power and turns Magneto into a baby. And that plays a huge role, Magneto being turned into a child. It ended kind of on a comical note. It's like, oh, look at these little kids. But whoever, I think Jim Lee had something to do with that, and X-Men number 1, because that plays back into that. And this storyline of Avengers versus X-Men plays into that as well. So they didn't leave it as comedy. That was a very big jump-off point for future Magneto storylines. And that's how these characters should be treated. Not as jokes, not as parodies, not as satires. So, hopefully I'll find a Defenders cover, and it should appear on either my left hand or my right hand. Okay? And I can't wait to see what X-Men 97 is going to consist of. Because I need a good cartoon series. Like, Harley Quinn is satire, but it's a very good cartoon series. But it's more adult. And I want to watch something that you can watch with your family, you can watch with your older relatives, you know what I mean? And this is gearing up to be it. I also want to see Batman Caped Crusader as well. I want to see what Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams, and Matt Reeves do with that series. And I believe that Larry Houston is coming back on board with X-Men 97. And they definitely need to get somebody to replace John Colicos, the late John Colicos, rest in peace, who voiced Apocalypse. That voice, his portrayal of Apocalypse, is the standout voice acting in the series to me. Wolverine was great, Rogue was great, but Apocalypse, his voice acting was just so outstanding. I hope they find somebody that can live up to, maybe not sound exactly like the late John Colicos, but that can really define Apocalypse with his voice, because Apocalypse is like my favorite X-Men villain. So, what do you think about X-Men 97? What are your expectations? What characters do you want to see developed and fleshed out? You know what I mean? Like I said, I want to see more Colossus. I want to see more Nightcrawler. They always give these guys the shaft. I don't know why. Like Wolverine and the X-Men, you saw very little Colossus. You got a good story with Nightcrawler, but why can't we ever get Colossus and Nightcrawler? All right, but this has been The Great Expanse by John Bat 426. I'm excited. All right, I can't wait till the fall of 2023, and I'm hoping that the MCU treats the X-Men the way they deserve to be treated. not as second-class citizens in the Marvel Universe, okay? But at the forefront where they belong. All right? So, if you like the video, share it, hit like, show it off to all your friends, show it off to all the people you're estranged with. Maybe they'll become friends again. All right? So, now let's have some traffic coming and traffic going so the Great Expanse can expand for you and because of you. Thank you for all of your support. Peace.